Welcome back to the kickoff. I have finally made it out of hospital to talk about England, and now I'm wishing I was back in hospital because it's that hard to watch. To be honest, I'd rather be on them. I need the morphine again for stuff like this. But lads, we're top of the group, so not the end of the world, is it? How were you feeling? Positive, negative? Where are you?
I gotta go first. I gotta go first and jump in this because it's a disgrace that Joey hasn't turned up after being the most positive person. He told us what's wrong with yourselves, Southgate. He's doing all this Southgate propaganda. That's what we have to call it, really. He came out and he tried to make us believe, and I was like, where's this belief coming from? And he's ruining it. Literally, yesterday we saw a manager who is so keen on being right that he can't see what he's got wrong. Gordon came on for just a few seconds, and we thought, oh, that's what we're missing on the left-hand side. Palmer comes on. He's on for, I don't know how long he's on for, what, 30 minutes? 15?
30 minutes.
20 minutes or something? He showed us what we're missing. And then the final piece, Cobby. And I don't want to be that fan that's like, oh guys, this is all was missing. But you're clearly seeing he's tried Trent, who's not a midfielder. He's tried Gallagher, who's not a midfielder. Well, he's a midfielder, but he's a different type of midfielder. And you actually have the person who can knit it all together. And that's Kobbie Mainoo. At least even try Wharton. I wouldn't have mind that. But him saying the key line for me is when he should have lost his job is when he said he misses Calvin. That was it. That's when all bets are off. But yeah, so I'm not surprised. I think we're going to get knocked out in our next game. Who have we got? I don't know if we got Netherlands or something.
We're running ahead. So sorry, just to keep it on the actual team. So the thing that KG has obviously stated there is there was clearly a problem in that Southgate ended this tournament not knowing his best team. Clearly unsure, trying something that he'd never tried before in Trent in midfield. And he flip-flopped between Gallagher and Trent with neither of them working. In the third game, he finally gives Cobby a try. Do we think we're seeing Gareth's inability to A, admit when he's wrong, but B, identify and correct problems in a timely fashion?
Yeah, because he's only corrected one of them. And he hasn't even corrected it yet. He brought Cobby on for 45 minutes yesterday, and don't get me wrong, we look better. But it feels, when you get kids to play a game of the floor is lava, don't stand on the floor. That feels like what we're doing in midfield. Because no one wants to be... Conor Gallagher was the furthest player forward on the pitch yesterday. And that's only one of the problems. None of this team has any cohesion or makes any sense whatsoever. Trippier at left back just wants to come back inside. Foden doesn't want to hold the whip. He wants to come into the middle. Kane wants to drop deep and step on Bellingham's feet. Bellingham's going for a walk. He's going wherever he wants, mate. Saka's the only one holding the width in that team. And by the way, I know Saka's had some criticism, and I'm not just backing my guy. 2 goals we've scored, where have they come from on the pitch? It's that right-hand side. It's the only bit that has any functionality whatsoever. But he might have brought Mainoo in yesterday, and maybe Mainoo is the answer. He's certainly a lot better than Trent was in there, certainly better than Gallagher. We've still got a problem at left back. I think we've still got a problem at left wing. We've got a Harry Kane problem now, because he's dropping deep into a 10 position. And by the way, I hear all the people saying that Palmer should come into this team. Palmer looked quality yesterday. But you bring Palmer onto that team, that's another player who wants to play number 10. It's another player who wants to go in exactly the same areas of the pitch as Kane, Foden and Bellingham. There's so many problems on the pitch.
Do we need to be a bit brutal here, lads, and speak specifically about individuals? Because there's some difficult conversations need to be had. There's some difficult, decisions need to be made, because this is eerily similar. And we pointed this out before the tournament. This isn't, Monday morning quarterback shit. We said this is going to be another Gerrard Lampard situation when we're looking at Foden, Bellingham, who gets priority. The fact that they were then swapping over in positions, neither of them was working out as good as you could expect. Do we need to really decide who's priority, who gets dropped to the bench, because this isn't flowing?
Is this a individual problem though, Brian, or is it actually a systemic issue with the team and the management structure that we've got. Like, let's be honest, right? The front four that we had on the pitch yesterday, they have 165 goals and assists between them last season. So they don't just become ineffectual players overnight just because they put on an England shirt, do they? It's all to do with the setup and what the actual instructions are that they're being received by the manager. I think it's quite clear that we went into that game yesterday not to lose the game. And in fact, Slovenia go into that game and they have the same sort of ethos. And that's why it ends up being a 0-0 ball draw. And we end up sort of thinking that England are sort of out of it and we're not good enough. Let's be honest. If there are small tweaks in the tactical setup where Southgate goes, do you know what, Phil Foden? Just go and play your game. Just go, like, drift in and out. Hug the left-hand side. Allow Bellingham to go out there. Actually push forward. Let's get some pace. Let's actually have some 1-2s. Let's have some bounce passes. Like, if we actually have a manager that is brave and actually wants to win a game, I would much rather do that and go out of a tournament in the last 16 than just have this sort of negative football. We're in a group stage. This isn't a knockout game. Like, I can understand going into a knockout game and going, do you know what? Actually, let's play not to lose rather than going out to win. But in a group stage game, even if it doesn't mean anything, like, we could have finished second in that group last night if Denmark had got a late goal. If that had happened, we would have been on the worst side of the draw and it would have been the manager's fault. It's not the individuals for me.
I know you're saying there, Josh, but I think one problem at a time. Like, is Southgate telling them the right thing? Absolutely not. Clearly, we are playing with footballers predominantly playing in the Premier League, a fast, aggressive footballing style in the Premier League. All of them. None of them are moving the ball quickly. None of them are playing with aggression. They're all playing with fear, and that is instilled directly from Gareth Southgate, who was one of the most cowardly managers I ever remember in football. The man takes so long to make a decision, and even then, it's always at the most cowardly moment. It's always the one that he doesn't have any fucking balls. I'm not disagreeing with anything you say, but we do have a problem when you say, well, tell Foden to play his football, hug the touchline. He's not. Yeah. Foden is not hugging that touchline. So we have a major problem where we've got a number 10 on the left and Bellingham, who's playing at number 10. That's not working either, by the way. So I as much as I agree with your criticism of Southgate, we do have a decision to make on who the fuck starts, because Anthony Gordon, for me, it is a fucking crime he is not playing in these games, because we are lacking direct football. We are lacking aggression. We are lacking know-how, creativity. And we have got a footballer in Harry Kane who's got an unbelievable goal record, and yet he's not in the fucking game. No one's really given him good service. And if there's one thing Anthony Gordon's done for the last fuck knows how long for another very, very good striker in Isak, it's feed him all fucking game, all the time. Big game player. He's got more goals against the top six than any other footballer in the Premier League right now. So we know he's not frightened to run at people and to take chances. Unlike a lot of the way this England lot are playing. He won't be held back by Gareth Southgate, which is probably why Gareth Southgate's giving him the fucking junk minutes, because he knows you're not going to do the boring, scared shit that I'm telling you. But I do think we need to make...
I think that, and you're onto something there. I think in the midfield, because you go back to his first game, and his first game is where he should have tried to figure out a lot. A lot of people gave him a lot of credit for the win. But then I said, guys, he should have used his bench more. Because when you're using your bench, you can understand, okay, these are the players I need to bring in. These players are warm now. I can get a lot more going. What
do you think there's a reason, though, KG? Do you not think he doesn't want to use the bench because he's scared that those substitutes will prove his decisions poor and it'll expose him? So
I think it's because he pulled it with
Gordon, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He's scared that the bloke impacts the game and forces him to do the right thing.
Well, he's scared because he 2 games. It's one of those, and I've seen it with our manager when we decided I'm not going to stop playing Anthony. I'm going to play Anthony. He's my big signing. I put a lot of credit into this. Now he's saying this Trent experiment was the worst experiment he ever tried, and he done it for 2 games. And in that midfield, and I'm not cussing Trent because Liverpool, nothing like that. I'm saying in midfield, you have 4 guys that want to do hero ball. You've got Bellingham that wants to do his own thing. Jacob, you explained it perfectly. You said about cohesiveness. You got Bellingham wants to do his own thing. Foden wants to do his own thing. Trent wants to do his own thing. And in the way they all play, it's completely different. And then you also, let's just add Kane as a midfielder now, because that's what he wants to do. So in all he needs to do right now, and I love Copy. I love him to bits. But I would do Declan Rice next to Bellingham, Foden in a 10, Gordon on the right, Saka, Kane Kane and down the middle. If that doesn't work, then I start to remove players one by one. If it's Kane that needs to come out because he doesn't want to be a centre forward no more, no problem. If that's going to be Watkins...
Let's talk about that then. Can we go into that, lads? Because the Harry Kane issue is one that we've had for, in my opinion, many tournaments. Now, Harry Kane scores a lot of goals in all these tournaments. So a lot of people will look at that and go, right, you're delivering on what you're supposed to deliver on. But the reality is, he slows us down tremendously. He's never had good legs. He's not a pressing striker. He doesn't play like your traditional Premier League strikers do now. So what you have to do is you make allowances for those shortcomings because he's a good finisher. But when you're not creating any fucking real chances, he's irrelevant to the game.
But it's just balance.
Yeah.
It's just balance. Is it like look at what works with Kane. Sterling works with Kane because Sterling would run behind. Son works with Kane because Son runs behind. What did Bayern Munich do? Gnabry run behind. Sane run behind. We've got Saka stuck to the wing because no one else is playing wide. We've got Foden trying to run inside. Bellingham dropping off as well. Like, there's just no cohesiveness. And I completely agree with you, KG, what you're saying about, let's sit someone, let's have Bellingham deeper. And Brian, to your point, in terms of Kane, if you're going to use him, you either lean into the false nine stuff and say, fair enough, mate, drop off and people are going to run behind you. Or you say, you know what? Fuck off. Go and stand in the box. You're a 6'2" centre forward with more goals than you've had hot dinners. Go and stand in the box. But here's the big problem. Do you honestly think any of these players are listening to Southgate? Do you think they're following instruction? I'm not taking the piss. Like, do you not think Southgate has said to them?
Yeah.
No, so then, Josh, if they are, like, Kane, the first game for Kane against Serbia, I thought he did his job. He held the line, he held the defenders back, and we found space in front of their defence because Kane was holding people back. Since then, he's dropped off. Why has no one said to him, stop doing that? Why has no one said to him, we've got Foden there, we've got Bellingham there, we've got other players in that 10 position, go and get in the box. If no one's telling him that, why aren't they? And if they are telling him that, why isn't he doing it?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I do think Southgate is, I think he's doing exactly what Southgate says. If you look at the average positions in that game against Serbia, Saka, and Bellingham were in front of him in that pitch. They were in front of him in terms of the average positions. I'm looking at it now. Kane was
Serbia,
about level with Declan Rice. Against Declan Rice. It's a joke that he's that far deep. And look, the question I have for you guys is, would you replace Kane then? Or are you saying that we need to get bodies in and around him? Because Brian, I'm getting the vibe from you that you want to drop it.
I would drop him immediately. And look, I understand that Harry Kane is a great finisher, but he offers so little else right now. And what we need, as Ollie Watkins showed when he came off the bench, is what we're struggling with right now is getting further up the pitch and pressurizing. We need someone to move their defenders back by running in behind them and giving them something to worry about. Harry Kane, these defences must be rubbing their hands thinking, thank God we have nothing to worry about with this guy. Everything's in front of me. I don't have to worry about what's coming in behind. Saka, as much as he's trying to create width, he's not anywhere near as much of a threat as what he usually is. And Foden keeps coming inside. Everything's in front of us. This is lovely. So, for me, if we had Anthony Gordon and Watkins on, that would put the fear of God into these defenders.
You can't drop Kane, though. You can't. I don't think you can drop Kane like that. As good as Kane has been, it's same with Bellingham. If you're not playing well, you're getting dropped. That should be the way it is in tournament football. Yeah. Bellingham is playing shit. Kane is playing shit. You drop, mate. I don't give a fuck what you've been doing all season. We haven't got a season long to sort this out. We've got game after game after game. 3 games you've all played shite. I would get rid of them immediately. I think just in there soon.
And I've got Anthony Gordon in there.
I think it's too soon to say drop Kane. I think this is, again, it's the style. The style of how we're trying to play is what's hurting Kane. And yes, he's not listening, but Kane does this thing. When he's not getting the ball, he's going to go searching for it. And it's weird to go searching for it when you're playing in a team that have all these creative players. He should be told. There should be one job to say, hey, mate, stay up front. He should be told that. And he needs to trust his midfield. Yeah. But then again, it's the left-hand side. The first time we scored when Declan Rice plays Foden in, they make, that offside goal. That was the first time I really saw us attack effectively from the left-hand side. And I was like, Saka's there. It was a perfect goal. We need to, but we haven't done that. How many times have you seen that link up before? You haven't seen it. Trippier is not working. I don't know why we took Luke Shaw. Honestly, and this is a guy that I love. But then we have to be honest.
That Luke Shaw inclusion is looking more laughable by the day. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, he's doing individual training right now, so he's like not even training with the squad. So he's not going to be fit for the next step.
Lewis Hall, one of the best young prospects at left back in Newcastle, bombing down the left side at left back. He's a very young kid, and I would have been worried about sending him, but at least he's fit. What the fuck is Luke Shaw good for?
You've got other options as well, though, haven't you? You've got Mitchell, you've got Cole, who could have gone and played there as well. You could have, Branthwaite was in the preliminary squad. I mean, we're talking about centre-backs, but at least they're left-sided centre-backs.
This is the whole discussion, though. Brian, you're talking about dropping Kane. Now we're saying, do you take Trippier out for Lewis Hall? Like, the whole thing is balance. You have to have a functioning team. Look at Argentina. How did they win the last World Cup? First 2 games, they were absolute bobbins. They were shite. What did they do? They dropped Lautaro Martinez, changed shape. Alvarez came in and they won the tournament. Sometimes you have to go, it's not about squeezing the best players in your squad on the pitch together. It's going, you have to have a fucking left back with a left foot. No disrespect to Trippier, by the way. It's no disrespect to any of these players. Like, Trippier's not the worst player on the pitch. Foden's not a bad player.
Trippier put in a really good ball yesterday as well, by the way. Yeah. Trippier put a really good cross.
They've all had moments. Yeah. KG's right. Yeah. KG's right. That offside goal, everyone involved in that was great. I've had everyone telling me Declan Rice can't pass the ball forward. That through ball from Rice to Foden where he's offside, that's the best pass we've played in this tournament.
Even in that offside goal, Harry Kane not involved at all.
He's not in the box, Brian.
Know what I mean?
What you're saying about Anthony Gordon, I agree with you, mate. I'd love to see a winger on there providing service. But if you put Anthony Gordon on that pitch, he'll be looking in the box and going, there's fucking no one there. I'm watching Foden play crosses to Saka. Saka's falling over because he can't get to the ball.
Just to go around quick answers, lads. Who do you pick as your number 10 for this England side if you had to choose next game?
Foden.
For me, I'd go Bellingham. And the reason why I'd go Bellingham is because if Kane's going to drop in, I think Bellingham is the best in terms of going beyond Harry Kane. That would be my rationale.
So really, Josh, you're saying Kane. Let's be really, you're saying Kane is your playmaker and Bellingham goes behind him.
In my setup, if you're looking at the way that Bellingham played for Real Madrid and what got the best out of Jude Bellingham, he was effectively like a second striker and he was mucking it with the sort of the number 9. And I feel that's where you're going to get the best out of him. For everyone, and I understand why people are saying that Bellingham is more of a defensive midfielder, and I can understand why you'd want to fit that in because people love Phil Foden, they love Cole Palmer, they want to see those players in their number 10. For me, I think you're wasting Bellingham in that role, and I also don't think you get the defensive solidity that you're going to need in front of a back 4 to play Bellingham in that role. I think it looks brilliant in FIFA.
You're calling him a supporting striker then? He's not a supporting striker, bro.
Mate, he's one of our best players.
Bellingham was basically a 9.
One of the best
Bellingham was basically a 9 at Madrid.
Yeah. And this is the thing, like, you've got to play players, towards their strengths, right? And Bellingham, his technique is absolutely exceptional. He does arrive into the box late. He can win headers. And if Kane is dropping in, you've got to think about a potential option. Like, I completely understand what Brian is saying about Watkins. And I thought that when Watkins came on, we actually put passes over the top and we looked really incisive. I just think from the starting a match, I don't think he's going to risk it. And I don't think actually he has the balls to drop Kane.
To be honest, I'd call Cole Palmer number 10. I don't think Phil Foden's looked as good as he could have done so far. Bellingham, same. I'm ready to see Cole Palmer as a number 10. I just think his talent is very, very elite. And with the form he's in, the fact that he's very aggressive. He wants to have a go at goal. He's not going to try and work it and overcook the fucking soup. He's going to go for goal. And I think we need more aggression in there. And I'm quite bored of this whole Bellingham Foden thing. I want to give him a chance.
I don't think he's, I have to disagree, man. I just don't think I think Foden is the best number 10 in the team. And I think he can get ahead of Kane easily. He loves them he likes to play that intricate passes. I want to move Bellingham back. Bellingham is an 8. Like, let's stop. Yes, he had to do that. And it's Real Madrid, and Real Madrid have amazing players all over the place. They have like incredible players. We're not Real Madrid. We can't even think of that when we're talking about England. England, when we have...
So you drop Bellingham further?
Yes. Let him play next to Rice. Put Foden in a 10. I'm happy to get Gordon on the left-hand side. And then after, you can still shake things up. I don't mind taking players off and using the bench well, but that's the biggest thing that we need to do.
The Bellingham thing, like Josh is right. He basically played as a false nine for Real Madrid. But when you play for your country, you do what you're told. And it's the biggest problem with so many of our players. Is like we're just letting them have free roles doing what they do for their clubs. It's like you need to start holding a shape. And I'd sit Bellingham closer to Rice. I think you have to try Foden at 10 now. You have to. Like we can't, if we go out on Sunday or the game after that, and at no point we've tried Rice, Bellingham, Foden in midfield, like he has to lose his job straight away.
Gareth Southgate has inherited an insane amount of talent. He looks out of his depths. I mean, yeah, you can beat the Farmers and all of that, but whenever and even then, Slovenia, let's be real, lads, they're shite. And we made hard work of that last night. And do you know what? I wouldn't have minded if I was sat there and I was actually entertained. Fuck me. This may be the 3 most boring games of football England have ever played back to back to back. Fucking terrible to watch.
What the goal difference in the
than this before. This is a new low for Southgate.
Well, the goal difference is telling in this tour. There's not been a lot of goals scored in this group. This group has been the most boring group.
Chances. We're barely creating chances, lads.
Yeah. Who's missed a chance? Like, can you think of a goalkeeper making a good save against us?
Even the highlights, which they could have sent a class eye to sleep.
It's getting bad. But then hopefully, like, it's just how he turns it round. And I hope he doesn't do this wholesale thing and goes crazy. Like, if he switches to 5 at the back, that wouldn't make no sense. The pieces are actually even there. It's just the bravery now. It's the bravery to say, left-hand side, I'm going to play a real left winger. He needs to be honest and say, I'm going to bring Bellingham. Just bring him back a little bit. Just little small touches and then use your bench. So even when it gets to 65 minute, that's when you make the Kane change. Not taking Kane off because he's rubbish. No, using your squad. That's international football. They laughed at Ralph Rangnick. He's gone out and won his group.
The biggest challenge I want to see is the players taking it on themselves a little bit. Because we're not talking about kids. We're not talking about teenagers. So, like, Phil Foden's been playing in our Man City team 4 or 5 years now. Harry Kane knows how to press. He knows how to run behind. Is it like, if the manager's not going to do it, it's time for experienced heads to go, fuck this, I'm on this pitch. I decide where I go. I decide what runs I make, and it's time for me to take charge of this. Because at the moment, I feel like players are hiding.
I believe that's why Harry Kane is dropping so deep.
Yeah,
as well. Like, he's
bang on, Brian.
Take it. And I've seen this before with strikers when their legs begin to go. They try and do other things. Like Callum Wilson resorted to wrestling with defenders instead of trying to get on the last shoulder because he knows he's beaten for pace whenever the ball comes over.
Rooney did this as well, didn't he? Like, this is Rooney all over again.
Yeah, when I look at Harry Kane, I think to myself, you're a shameful captain, you. Like, and I know he's a nice guy, but that man shouldn't be anywhere near a captain's armband. He is not a leader. He certainly is not leading by example. You know, yes, he can't talk for shit. Neither could David Beckham. But when Beckham was on that pitch, we knew he was showing everyone this is the fucking level. Harry Kane is a million miles away from that right now. And he especially is getting exposed in this tournament.
I think that's too harsh. I'm sorry. I think
that's not in Bayern Munich, mate.
This is a clinical striker. This guy scored so many goals last season. It's the way the team is playing. It's they're not. They haven't set this team up perfectly for Harry Kane. How do you have a player of this quality? This is like saying drop a prime Alan Shearer. How would you do that? You can't drop him.
No, it isn't. No, listen. You know what it's like? It is. You're close. No, listen. This is not a prime Alan Shearer. It's certainly not a prime Harry Kane. The goal tally may distort the way you see him, but make no mistake about it, that man's legs are going. big time
But
right
he-
now.
but
And the
what do
fact
you
is,
say?
he
What do you
never
say?
had pace. He never had a lot of pace.
Yeah.
But he had enough to compete. And now, what we're seeing, just like Alan Shearer had it later on in his career,
Yeah.
is he needs runners. Alan Shearer had Craig Bellamy, who did all of his running for him.
Yes.
Harry Kane needs an Anthony Gordon.
Thank you.
He doesn't have one. So what Gareth Southgate has done here is sent a man up there with no runners who can't really run very hard. But this is the point. That's why I'm saying Harry Kane is being exposed. It's not even his fault necessarily.
Cool.
The reality is, what we need him to do,
Yeah.
he can't do right now. He can't do it.
That's
Yes,
fair.
you're a good finisher. We're not getting the ball in the box. So what fucking you say it to anyone?
That's fair.
Nothing.
That's fair. That's
Doesn't
fair.
drop deep. All right then.
That's fair. I think it's a shame. I think he's a frustrated player.
In a world-class side who are going to consistently feed them balls into the box will score goals. But that is not what we're doing right now. So we need someone who can offer more than Harry Kane can in the way of running him behind.
But if Kane's captain, I'm sorry, you've got an armband on you. You've got to start saying to those guys, you've got to go behind. I don't care if Bellingham's got an Adidas advert singing his name. I don't care if Phil Foden's won player of the season. Someone's got to start running behind. And this is where I get frustrated with the players now. Forget the fucking instructions. You're on that pitch for 90 minutes. One of you can just say, fuck this, I'm running behind. If Kane's going to drop, if Foden's going to drop, everyone's dropping. One of you just fucking go.
All right, we'll wrap that up there, lads. Final little question here. Does anyone expect us to go deep in this tournament now? Or are you all thinking it could be an early exit not long after this?
We'll be out on Sunday.
I said before the tournament, I thought it would be the quarterfinals. I think we might just scrape through Sunday, but then we'll lose against, I think it'll be Italy or Switzerland. I think we'll lose against them in the quarters.
I'm being possessed by the spirit of Joey Knight, and I believe, boys. Listen, I think it takes two subs. It takes two changes, a midfielder and a winger, and suddenly there's shape. And then it takes the players to grow some bollocks, to put their brains in gear and say, we're experienced heads who've won stuff in the past, Harry Kane aside, and we're going to take control of this. There's still enough quality. Our path to the final, you could not beg for a better path to the final than what we've got. They still can do this. They can still turn this round.
I'll leave my prediction agreeing with Josh. I think we've got one or two games left before this shit show's over with. And do you know what it is? There's a bit of me. I want England to win a trophy, obviously. This is the first time in my life where I've gone ever, by the way, where I've gone from watching Newcastle and been entertained with, fast, aggressive football where I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good, this, to then watching England and being like, this is such a downgrade. Fuck me, I'm sick of this shit. So I'm kind of going to be relieved when we go out because it's been so fucking terrible to watch. Let us know in the comments below your predictions for how far England go. General thoughts on the tournament. We'll be back soon on the kickoff. Big love. Catch us later.